Joe Milton is the greatest quarterback I've ever seen. Okay, we're not going to overreact that much, but this is going to be a story, and it may be a story for multiple years. So we'll break that down and talk about the Patriots' 17-3 dominant victory over the Carolina Panthers in their first preseason game here on Patscast. Welcome to Patscast. I'm Brad Whitaker. Good to be with you. The Patriots win their first exhibition game of the season, 17-3 over the Carolina Panthers. Drake Maye's first victory. Does it really count if it's a preseason game? Not really, but he's 1 for 1, and that's good to see. And the Patriots defense just lights out across the board. I know they're going against the Carolina Panthers. They're sitting like almost all of their starters. So just take everything with a grain of salt. But just an incredible defensive performance. Should have been a shutout if the Panthers had actually gone for the end zone in the final minutes of the game. But they chose to kick a field goal so they could walk away and not get shut out. But really just a dominant defensive performance by the Patriots overall. And a lot of continuity from last season, even with Drake Maye taking over as head coach and DeMarcus Covington at defensive coordinator. I've said it many times, I'm really not that worried about the defense. It's the same guys running things. Even Belichick was kind of focusing on the offense because they were so bad the last couple of years. I think they're going to be okay, and this just solidified that opinion. I mean, we'll see when the actual season starts, but really great performance by the defense. But I'm going to talk about the offensive side of the football because that's really what us Patriots fans care about. Drake Maye making his NFL debut, and Patriots decided to be, or at least Drake Maye decided to be extremely cautious with their number 1 and number 2 quarterbacks. Starting with Jacoby Brissett, had 3 passes, didn't complete a throw. One of them was kind of slipped off his hands. It was raining very hard during the first half of the game. Took him out of the game after one possession. Similar story for Drake Maye. There were some pre-snap issues out there for him on a false start penalty. Did run a halfback screen, which got him a first down. Completed 2 passes for 19 yards. Had one pass that I think it was for Jalen Reagor. Also slipped out of his hand, similar to Jacoby Brissett's pass. Went a little high, and he wasn't able to pull it in on what probably should have been a completed pass. But really sloppy weather out there, not the time to make your NFL debut, and Drake Maye, understandably, was very cautious with Brissett and May, and we will likely see a lot more of them in next week's preseason game against the Eagles. This was just to get their feet wet, and a lot of people are going to complain. I wanted to see Drake Maye out there longer. I wanted to see Jacoby Brissett out there longer, but they both went out there for one series. That was it, and then it was basically Bailey Zappe up until the midway point of the third quarter, who was horrendous. He really was not good, and it was kind of refreshing because Bailey Zappe did have some good games last season, but he also had some very bad games. So seeing, Drake Maye, Jacoby Brissett, look at least a little better than him, and Joe Milton, which I'll get to in a moment, looking great out there, it kind of made me realize, okay, we upgraded at the quarterback position, regardless of how you slice it, regardless of who is out there. And I think what impressed me most was the offensive line was actually a lot better than I was expecting. Vidarian Lowe started at left tackle, not Caden Wallace. I'm not sure it'll stay that way. Maybe they did it because Lowe is a veteran, but he didn't look that terrible considering how awful and how low the expectations are for Vidarian Lowe. Didn't look that bad out there. And then, of course, you had Sidy Sow, David Andrews, Michael Wenu, left guard, center, and right guard. And then Chuks Okorafor was out there at the right tackle position for that starting unit. And immediately they ripped off a great wide zone run to the right with Ramondre Stevenson. He didn't get much action out there. That was his only carry, but carried the ball for 11 yards, got a quick first down, and then Jacoby Brissett kind of struggled in the rain there, and before he was taken out of the game. And the running game was kind of up and down throughout. I wouldn't say it was very consistent, but better than the last time the Patriots tried to implement a West Coast offense under Matt Patricia. The running game is going to take some time to get going. That's what the preseason's for. That's what training camp is for. And they ripped off some big plays throughout the games with all their various running backs running a wide zone scheme. So that was good to see. And Jacoby Brissett, even though he went 0 for 3, had a ton of time to throw the football on 2 of those passes. So he got the pass protection he needed. Just it was sloppy weather and the ball was slipping out of his hands. Drake Maye, similar story for the most part. There was a time when it looked like he was going to get tackled for a blindside sack, and he checked it down, and people are like, I don't want another check down quarterback. He made the right play there. He was going to get sacked, and he checked it down. That's good to see. Had his halfback screen, and then, of course, the missed throw to Jalen Reagor, which went a little bit high. And that's all we saw for Drake Maye. But overall, Jacoby Brissett, we'll see what happens, but he seems to be the starter going forward. Drake Maye, I wouldn't say looked terribly comfortable out there. He didn't. This wasn't... I don't want to compare it to Mac Jones, but you have to remember Mac Jones looked pretty good as a rookie and looked extremely comfortable right away. This was not that. Drake Maye did not, and it might have been the weather, it might have been the nerves of being out there on an NFL field for the first time in a real game, but I just from body language alone, didn't look the most comfortable out there. And again, maybe that was the weather, but we'll see as he gets into it more. We got to see more reps from him. I'm not going to make a judgment about Drake Maye from the 3 passes that he threw. The pre-snap penalty was not great with the false start. I think it was Chukwuekorfor ran a little early, and then, I don't know, there was some miscommunication there between Drake Maye, David Andrews, and the offensive line, and that's kind of been the story for Drake Maye throughout training camp. He's had his ups and downs, but again, hard to make a judgment from this game. Then Bailey Zappe went out there and didn't really do a lot. His best throw really was kind of an ill-advised throw to Kayshon Boutte that just slipped over the defender's hands, and it was probably the catch of the day from Boutte, who had a very good day himself. 3 receptions for 53 yards, was their best receiver out there. Didn't look quite as good in the second half, Kayshon Boutte, but he certainly deserves to be in that conversation for a roster spot. But I think Bailey Zappe at this point, this may be the last time we see him in a Patriots uniform. I think they just put him out there just to, get Drake Maye and Jacoby Brissett's feet wet briefly, ride it with Bailey Zappe for most of the game. If he plays well, then he's a potential trade candidate. If not, you're probably going to cut him, and I think the latter is what's going to happen, and that could happen sometime in the next week. And a big reason why is because the quarterback that looked extremely comfortable out there, shockingly comfortable, and that was Joe Milton, the late round draft pick out of Tennessee, the quarterback we've all kind of forgotten about to an extent because he hasn't gotten a ton of reps at training camp alongside Bailey Zappe. Basically, Drake Maye and Jacoby Brissett are splitting 95% of the reps, and then Milton and Zappe get scraps. Well, the way Milton played today, you don't want Bailey Zappe on that roster. You want him to start to get at least his Bailey Zappe scraps in practice, so you can get a little more reps for Joe Milton. And look, this is going to be a conversation, and this could go on for 2 to 3 years, for all we know. And that's the reason why the Patriots drafted Joe Milton, because they drafted a raw quarterback in Drake Maye. We hope he develops. We hope it works out. But they drafted another raw quarterback in Joe Milton, and he may develop and work out and eventually be the best quarterback out there. And he made a great argument in his NFL debut today. Actually only threw 6 passes, was 4 of 6 for 54 yards. Did have a touchdown pass. But the thing there is, and this is what got me kind of thinking about this. I was on the podcast last week with Colin Cowherd saying, I think Joe Milton could win the job. I'm not sure he's going to have the opportunity to win the job. But here's the scenario. If Drake Maye comes in halfway through the season, struggles a little bit, or he doesn't play at all year one, Jacoby Brissett's on a 1-year contract. He's probably gone next year. There is a reality where we have a real quarterback competition heading into next season between Drake Maye and Joe Milton. And the way Joe Milton played today, I mean, it's like my eyes aren't lying to me. He looks really good. And yes, I know he's going against like 3rd and 4th stringers, but he's also playing with 3rd and 4th stringers. And the guys that Bailey Zappe struggled to play with, Joe Milton was able to play with right away, and he looked very comfortable. didn't seem to be bothered by pressure. He had like a 15-second play where he ran around behind the line of scrimmage like Michael Vick out there and then ran the ball for like 15 yards or something. Probably should have slid, but he didn't take a hard hit. And I'm going like, okay, Patriots drafted Drake Maye because he's just a raw guy. Very athletic, great arm strength, a lot of size. But then I look at Joe Milton. He's obviously more athletic. I mean, he's doing backflips during practice just for fun. And Jacoby Brissett is mocking him for it. He has a stronger arm. He had by far the strongest arm in the draft. And then he's like faster and he has a quicker release. And I think my worry with Joe Milton was this is just a raw quarterback with a very strong arm that's very athletic, and we'll see how it plays out. But no, he's making second, third, and fourth reads very quickly. The touchdown pass that he threw to who was the receiver? Sorry, it's slipping here from me, but I'll get to that in just a moment. But the touchdown pass that he threw, he drew the defensive back the other way, and that's how the receiver was able to get open. And I guess Drake Maye threw a similar pass in training camp, but like that is a real like pro level style play with the pump fake that he had out there. And it's not like he didn't make mistakes. He almost threw a pick six. Like Joe Milton wasn't perfect. He was far from perfect, but he was escaping the pocket and making plays that I don't think Drake Maye could do. I don't think 90% of the quarterbacks in this league could do. Guys like Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, certainly Lamar Jackson, they can make those types of plays, but there aren't a lot of quarterbacks that can extend plays the way Joe Milton did today, and that's part of what really dazzled to us Patriots fans today, and the reason why we're going to be talking about a quarterback competition for a while. Okay, it was Ja'Quai Jackson. That's who the receiver was. A guy who's not going to make the team. And he's playing with guys who mostly are not going to make the team. But, yeah, I'm looking at the play right now. Looks to his right, makes one first read, second read, pump fakes, throws to his left. So it looks like Ja'Quai Jackson was his third option there. And he drew the defensive back in, and that's how he was able to get a touchdown pass. And it's not that, like, Drake Maye can't do that. Like, he did that a lot in college. But I'm just seeing Joe Milton in his raw traits and comparing it to Drake Maye and his raw traits. And Joe Milton is just a slight improvement in all the areas that Drake Maye excels at. And the idea was, okay, well, Drake Maye, he's probably going to learn an NFL offense quicker. He was a better college quarterback. Okay, I get that argument. But if Joe Milton is learning the offense at the same clip that Drake Maye is, well, then you have to start giving him the reps and at least just seeing what you have with him. And I don't want to overreact, but like my eyes are not lying to me. He looked incredible out there. And this might be a Malik Cunningham situation. Was it Malik Cunningham? Do I have that name right? Like it's been such a while since I thought about him. He came in, I think, in the preseason opener in the fourth quarter, led the Patriots down the field on a touchdown drive, and everyone wanted to see him out there at quarterback. Then he got moved to the practice squad. The Baltimore Ravens claimed him, and now he's playing wide receiver for Baltimore, I believe, and probably not going to make the team. I'm not sure what's going on with him. So this may just be a similar situation to that with Cunningham in the preseason last year, but Patriots drafted Joe Milton because they knew he had all the traits that Drake Maye had, but was probably an even more raw quarterback and less prepared to play in the NFL than Drake Maye. Well, again, like I said, if he is developing at the same rate and picking up the offense as Drake Maye, like you got to start giving him reps in practice in the rest of training camp and seeing what you get out of him. Because look, if you end up getting your future franchise quarterback in the late rounds instead of in the early rounds, like it's fine. Like you got your quarterback. It worked out in San Francisco with Brock Purdy. Maybe that will be the scenario here. Now, I'm not giving up on Drake Maye by any means. He didn't really have an opportunity today. And I can't say he performed bad other than the pre-snap penalty. But Joe Milton actually went out there and made plays. And that's what you really want to see, because we haven't had a dynamic quarterback in New England other than Cam Newton since, I don't know. I don't know if we've ever really had a dynamic quarterback. I mean, Jacoby Brissett was kind of that way. He was a far more mobile quarterback. And he's more of a pocket passer now. But, yeah, really impressed with Joe Milton. Excited to see how much he develops. But I think today was a positive for the Patriots. They 17-3. You don't read too much into the score during a preseason game, but and they're going against a Carolina team that was resting 80% of their starters right off the bat. But the defense dominated. The offensive line looked better than I thought. The defense had a ton of depth too. They continued to dominate with the third and fourth string players, the guys who aren't even going to see the roster. And that's really great to see. At the receiver position, I think Kayshon Boutte is really going to make a great case for making the team. Hopefully he continues to perform. He's had a very good camp so far. Very impressed with Jalen Polk. He didn't have any splash plays, but he made a catch that was very challenging. That was kind of above his hand on I believe it was a comeback route. And he's the real deal. Javon Baker didn't do a lot. I think he had one reception, but you can see the talent there. He seems a little off in his route running. But I think Baker's a guy that's not going to have a ton of receptions, but when he does, they're going to be big splash plays. But I wouldn't say he had an amazing day. Juju barely saw any playing time on the field, but he was out with the starter, so was Tyquan Thornton. They didn't really do anything. So I'd say the two ups at receiver are Jalen Polk and Kayshon Boutte. But yeah, my live stats are not refreshing here. ESPN's website, there's something going on. It says there was no New England passing reception, so I'm not sure what's happening there. But overall, I'd say the two top receivers are Kayshon Boutte and Jalen Polk, and that's very encouraging to see. We'll see. Is there going to be a quarterback competition down the road? Presumably there was between Jacoby Brissett and Drake Maye. I think we can write that off, at least at this moment in time. But Joe Milton made a really strong case to get a lot more reps in practice today and see what you get out of him. And I think Bailey Zappe probably going to be off the roster very soon. But I'm curious to hear from you. Were you impressed with the Patriots today? Are you encouraged going forward? What do you think of Joe Milton? What do you think of Drake Maye and his limited opportunities along with Jacoby Brissett? You think the Pats are going to cut Bailey Zappe? Curious to hear from you. Let me know in the comments below. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell, or subscribe if you're listening on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. And we'll see you very soon.
Thunder.